Welcome back, everybody, to Chasing the Rut, brought to you by the Wild Faith Podcast. My name is Evan Bungham, and today I have a very special guest. I have Dan Eigen in the house, a.k.a. Walleye Dan, or should we call him Whitetail Dan, in the house. So, Dan, how are we doing today?
Hey, Evan, I'm doing really good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. You're probably doing a little bit better than me because you're not eating tag soup right now.
I'm not doing what?
You're not eating tag soup.
Oh, right. No, I'm not. And it's usually me that's eating tag soup, and it really feels good to be all done, even though I'm not all done, but that I've filled my buck tag before the bullets start flying. So I've got a little bit of a piece in that department.
Well, I was going to say, it's probably giving you a little bit more time to get out and do some fishing.
Well, I've been doing that, and I do that no matter if I've,
rain or shine.
Or not. Rain or shine or wind or snow or whatever. In fact, I'm back on the water at 3:30 as soon as we're done here. So
nice.
But yeah, there's this sense of, just a great fall, and got her done.
Love it. So, I mean, maybe just before we kind of get in some tactics and stuff that really kind of keyed you up for success, tell us about the story. I've been kind of peeing my pants waiting to hear it, so I'm excited to kind of just hear how that hunt broke down and what came to be successful for you.
Yeah, well, it all started right here, in the old, at the home front, and it was like, I've got this list of people that I need to still take fishing,
Okay.
And it's about 6 or 7 deep. And I've been fishing all season long, of course, and fishing's been good. And don't get me wrong, I like my job, but it's just gets to be this time of year where it's like, I know that I need to be in the woods. And Shelly's like, oh, it's a nice night. This was a week ago Monday. She goes, it's a nice night. Who are you taking fishing? And I go, I'm going to go hunting. And she's like, oh, and I'm like, I have to go hunting. Yep. So I looked back in the woods. I've got a decoy that I've had back there for about a year, just, soaking in the natural light and, just scent free as can be, So I'm like, gosh, I'm just going to try that. The wind wasn't right for my spot, but I went anyway, so I grabbed the decoy, threw it in the back of the truck, buzzed over to this. It's a little piece of private property that I have access to hunt that adjoins some county land. And so I parked. I'm carrying my decoy in one arm, my bow in the other. And I got, about 25 yards from my stand, and I put the stake in the ground and put my decoy on it facing me. And I'm like, I climbed the ladder stand. And, I was just enjoying myself, just sitting there. And the wind was out of the southeast, and gave a little nose jammer spray at the, about head height on my tree. And it was about, there was about 15 minutes left of shooting light. And I looked, down over the edge of the field, and out pops a deer, and then another one. And, they started coming in, and one of them, just dwarfed the other, so it was just, and, I couldn't really see that well from, it was probably about 100 yards at that point. Couldn't tell if it had a rack or not, but I just kind of looked, and I kind of got the impression they were both bucks. And anyway, that thing looks at my decoy, and just starts, coming, and he'd stop and stare, and then he'd come some more, and he'd stop and stare, and the other one is back behind it, about 30 yards, just kind of watching everything unfold. And so, he gets in, and then I see, that he's out to the ears at least, and I'm like, okay, this is good. And he kind of got on the back side of my decoy a little bit at about, 30, maybe 35. And then he was going to cut, and I think, circle downwind. But then, something told me like, well, he could continue on through the woods here too. So I quickly came to full draw.
Smart.
Put my pin on him, and I whacked him. And Evan, it was one of those, you know the sound, but it just felt so right, you know, that I'm like, gosh, I was just totally confident that I was going to recover this one right away. Mm-hmm. And so I came home quick, ate a taco, grabbed a knife, got my four-wheeler and hooked up. Shelly goes, well, are you going to take your trailer? And I'm like, yeah, that's a really good idea. So hooked up the trailer, drove down the road over there, walked to the site of where I hit it, no blood. And I'm like, okay. So I walked into the woods. It started to rain a little bit, not a steady rain, but just some drops. And I know that forecast was saying it was supposed to rain after 6, and it was already, past that.
Enough to get the wheels turning in your head.
Exactly. Yep. So I'm just like, oh gosh, I've been on this before, no blood. Yep. It's like, what's going on here? I'm just kind of, panning back and forth and just checking things, looking and looking and looking. And I saw a little drop of blood, and I'm going, sweet. And it was on a main trail. So I followed that main trail and, walked another probably 15 yards, and there he was. And I was kidding. Like, praise the Lord. Yeah. Just a beautiful deer.
So did you watch him after you shot him? Like, did you just watch him run off in the timber then and just kind of lost sight of him after that?
Yeah. He just bolted into the timber. Yes. And there's a swamp back in there. So,
oh boy, could have got Western kind of fast.
Oh, absolutely. But like I told you, I was really, really confident. I just haven't felt that in a while. Where you're just like, okay, this is really good. So yeah, that's pretty much how it unfolded. But to backtrack a little bit, of course, I'm up there. I'm like, Lord, I don't remember exactly my prayer, but he answered it. I was just kind of like, send in a shooter, I think is, more or less what I said, but it was, to the T. And, it was just
love it. So for that deer, I mean, like prior leading up to that, was that like one of your first sits of the year, or have you sat a couple times at that point?
That was my third sit.
No kidding.
Yeah, my third sit. The first one was just right over here. Oh no, my first sit was back there, and I had a doe just work me over for like an hour. Just man, something was wrong.
Yeah.
But she did come in close enough where it's like, if I, wanted to, I could have, come to draw on her too. But
yeah.
And then I'm trying to think. And then I sat, one night over here on this other little piece and, didn't see squat. So, it was my third sit. But you know what, Evan? I have sat so many hours, so many years of my life in the woods, which is a good thing, I know. But if there is such a thing as being due, I'm gonna say that I was due.
Yeah.
So,
which is such a good feeling, because it's like one of those things where you're just talking about, like, you putting lots of time, lots of man hours, and then it's so fun for those nights when it just happens.
Yes.
Where did you do any calling or anything in terms of like rattling, grunting, or did that deer just kind of come in on a string, trying to circle downwind of that decoy?
Yeah, I didn't make a peep. I always, I had my grunt call on me, and, sometimes, if I, for a Hail Mary, I'll do one of those, but no, I didn't do a thing. Like I say, I just sprayed a little nose jammer. My clothing is all, been air dried, and I use scent killer and rubber boots, all this stuff. But, I bought a new compound this year. I did buy a new Matthews, and,
oh, nice.
One of the new Lift X's.
That gets a confidence level. Get that up on a high note.
Correct. have been shooting quite a bit. So I just
Nice.
had that confidence, and that the old slick trick, open on impact.
Oh yeah.
Or whatever you want to call it.
Was there a lot of blood when you did find him though?
Not really. No.
Really? Okay.
Because my arrow, it wasn't a pass through.
Oh, okay. Well, that would make sense. Yeah.
It wasn't a pass through, but it did. I didn't, really do the forensics, but I want to say it was a heart shot. Just the way.
Well, if he mule kicked out of there and just barrel rolled, I mean, there's a darn good chance that you did too.
Yep.
That's awesome. So, I mean, kind of breaking down that hunt just a little bit. I mean, I know you kind of just sounded like you had a free afternoon and you went out and you just kind of made it happen. Like, what made you think about grabbing a decoy though for like that time of year?
Gosh,
have you ever shot one over a decoy before?
I haven't ever shot one over a decoy, but I've used decoys.
Sure.
And had does come in and, bucks. I remember in Wisconsin one time when we were doing the Fleet Farm thing, had a big buck that was, didn't come in, but we were also early in the season when we were trying to use that. I think I don't know, there was something that just said, hey, this is the time,
yeah.
And obviously it's pre-rut, so the thing, he didn't come in doing the posturing and, he was more, just really kind of studying it.
Sure. Yeah, I tell you what, I've done, I don't know how many hunts. One of the biggest whitetails I've actually ever had a chance at with my bow was over a decoy. And it is so fun to watch, especially like when they do put on the full show and they posture it up and they look like they want to destroy it, because that's what I was going to say. It looked like you left your decoy up and it did get hit, didn't it?
It did. Yeah. So, that night I didn't, all I was concerned about is,
getting your deer,
getting the deer and, doing the work, because I had a fishing trip in the morning. So, and it was, borderline. So I scun it and I'm like, gosh, that's the last thing I'm going to worry about is that. But I went back there 2 days later and it was just, the metal post was all bent over and,
oh geez,
one antler laying here. Yeah. So another one, knocked him silly. So
that's awesome. Congratulations. Once again, I mean, what's on the docket now? I mean, are you going to participate in the gun season here in Minnesota? Or are you going to try to go maybe shoot a doe, or just kind of get back to just being, taking clients out for your fishing calendar?
A little bit of everything.
Nice.
So the landowner, that I have permission to hunt just right here by the house. He doesn't hunt a lot and doesn't know that property like I know it. And I just told him that I'd walk him to one of my stands, rifle opener morning.
Okay.
And then his father-in-law's coming up too. And I've made a little blind yesterday that was pretty cool. Made it out of railroad ties that were over on this piece of property. And
oh, cool.
So I'm going to help them just a little bit. And then, I think what I'll do is a little bit later season, I'll find somebody that wants a doe, and then I'll try to take one with my recurve is the plan.
Nice. I was going to add, I assumed from looking at pictures that you shot it with your count bomb, but I was like, well, maybe there's a chance you shot it with his recurve. I'm like, but that would have been a poke probably.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it would have been, that would have been a little different story, but, as soon as I did shoot that, I did pull out the recurve and started shooting. So
nice. Good.
Even though I grabbed the compound yesterday because I had a flock of hen turkeys on the last day of the turkey season. Maybe you saw that too.
Yep.
And I'm like, gosh, I'm going to try to drill one of these. And I called them in and, they came across the road and they were coming. And then they spooked and I'm like, gosh, they didn't see me, did they? Of course, turkeys sometimes do see you when you don't know that they did. But anyway, And then I kind of looked, and here's the guy walking his golden retriever down the road. So
classic.
Yeah. And then I did call them back again, and then they shot back across the road. And
dang.
So, yeah.
No Thanksgiving turkey. That's okay though.
No Thanksgiving turkey. Yeah. So yeah.
One of the that's super exciting, and I wish I've been teased the last probably 3 weeks now. I haven't had a chance to get home to my home farm in southeast Minnesota, but we've had probably the most toms I've ever seen congregated together on our farm. Wow. Every day they're just out going from camera to camera to camera, and it's just like, really wish I was home to shoot one of you guys. Yep. You know, but nice. Well, yeah. Dan, I just want to tell you thank you so much for taking some time out to kind of just tell this story, and I just want to congratulate you again for getting it done, and I hope you have a successful rest of the season and have some good time out in the water. And before we know it, we're going to be talking ice fishing.
You're darn right. Yeah. Gosh, this wind is just howling. I think, they were saying it's supposed to pipe down, but that doesn't get me too excited to go out there. But anyway.
Fishing's fishing.
Yep. Got to go do her. So.
Cool. Well, thanks, Dan. Hope you have a good night, and appreciate you hopping on again.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Evan. And good luck to you this season.
So we have Jordan Yira in the house. And these are always extra special when we can do these episodes when we're not eating tag soup and we've been tagged out. So, Jordan, I've been waiting to talk to you for a while. I know that you shot a really nice one in Wisconsin. Was waiting to get the full story until we can get it on the pod. So, Jordan, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks again for having me back on the podcast. As you said, the most magical time of the year is here, and I'm had some success last week and excited to share with you guys.
Heck yeah, man. So just kind of walk us through it. I mean, I know you've been busy out in the woods chasing here in Minnesota and Wisconsin, but you struck gold, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So season in Wisconsin kind of started off slow. We did, our usual food plots, trails, all that stuff, and really didn't have anything anything that really got me fired up to chasing a lot of nice up and come 2.5 and 3.5 year olds. And it wasn't until like mid-October, which usually is a story, when the pre-rut starts and all these deer actually get on their feet and get moving. Actually, the story really starts. So my uncle tragically, at the age of 42, passed away this spring. And we've been at his house is kind of like our deer camp and whatnot. So we've been getting that all kind of ready and set up for, gun season coming up here too. But I hung a few cameras in his backyard because he's got 13 acres there right across from our chunk right across the road. And I guess this is, really where it starts off as I got this amazing buck in the backyard in the middle of the night kind of cruising through. And I'm like, holy smokes, he had split G2s, split G3s, and just looked like a hammer. And I'm like, wow, that's a nice deer. And then the next day, all of a sudden I get him on my side, or he crossed the road and went on my side of the woods. And I got him like ripping up every single, like that day or that night, ripping up every single scrape that I had, like mock scrapes, or that's a usual scrape area. So he hit like 4 scrapes that night. And I'm like, all right, the chase is on now. And that was like, I want to say like October 20th. Okay. So then he finally daylighted I think it was like October 25th. So I like drove over to Wisconsin. I'm like, I'm going to go try to kill him before things get good here. Mm-hmm. Sat in like it was a rainy day, but I'm like, it could be a good sit with the scrape. Saw a ton of bucks, but not him. And then I'm like, all right, this is where we go from here. We have a nice enclosed muddy blind, and it was kind of usually that week of Halloween I kind of take off and I really hit it hard to try to at least pinpoint a buck or get a better game plan going into the rut here. And I had him on camera all so basically I hunted from last Sunday to about Thursday when I shot him, but I was doing all day sits in the stand because I knew if I got into that stand, I'm like, there's no leaving, because it sits perfectly on the edge of bedding and basically on a ridge where I got bedding on both sides, and it's kind of just like a natural rut funnel, and it's on like a big oak flat there too. So I'm like, I got in there super early, like 5 a.m. every morning. Finally had an encounter with him on Monday at like 6:58 in the morning, like 10 minutes before shooting light. All I could see is his rack just moving through the timber. And I got a picture on my cell camera. I'm like, oh my goodness, that's him. So I'm sitting there trying to grunt and rattle and everything. And it was so windy. and the wind, of course, was blowing the wrong way. He didn't hear me, and I was just like, I was already shucking up because I could just see the rack through my binos. I'm like, holy smokes. He's even, sometimes with cameras, like it just throws you off a little bit, but in person, I'm like, he's even bigger than I thought in the cameras. So that's always a good feeling. But, Noah had a really productive week. I think I saw from Sunday to, that time I had like 20 different bucks, and there were some really nice bucks that I passed. I probably usually wouldn't have, but I'm like, I was just so set on that because we nicknamed that buck the J buck after my uncle, since we got him in his backyard, and I kind of just like made my mind up like that's the one deer I want to target. So one deer I want to kill, and then lo and behold, Wednesday night I thought I saw him kind of bumping around with some does and stuff, but I couldn't confirm. Just through the timber, and it was very quick at last light. So I was pretty hopeful that hopefully it was him. So my wife Greta drove up after the kids were done with school, and they only go Monday and Wednesday. So all of a sudden we're like, all right, we're both got tags and we're both sitting in the same blind. And it was a really, like Thursday morning was super foggy. We had a big temp drop, super foggy, pressures were high, and of course our blind windows are all fogged up and stuff. So we opened them up, and deer were just kind of coming out of the woodwork. Like it was super cool, like something you'd see in a movie. Like they would just all of a sudden appear out of the fog, and I'm like, wow, this is going to be really, really cool. And we had a doe right in front of us. October 30th, a doe right in front of us right in the morning, kind of munching on acorns and browsing. And she kept just looking kind of on edge, and all of a sudden this little 8-pointer came out from up top on the ridge, and he was just kind of eating, not really monkeying anything of it. I'm just kind of sitting back in the blind chair, just making sure nothing's seeing me. And all of a sudden Greta taps me. She's like, big buck coming up the ridge. And like, literally I took one glance over, grabbed my bow and drew. And I'm like, I knew instantly it was that one. I saw the split on the one side, and I'm like, that's it. So I drew, and like of course we have a big maple tree kind of like concealing our blind. So it's such a goofy angle that all I could see is his back end, and that was basically it. I'm like, wow, obviously I'm not going to take that shot. So I was holding at full draw for like a minute, and finally I kind of like stepped over, and like in those vertical windows, obviously you don't have like a whole lot of left to right. So I was just waiting, and finally he took a step forward, but then he like pinned me in the tree, and like he put his head down. I'm like, uh-oh. And I saw his tail start to do that. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, is he nervous and going to bolt out of there? So then he took, like, lo and behold, and luck has it, he took one more step forward, and I could see, basically like right behind the crease and up on the deer. And I'm like, oh, that's good enough. So I try to tuck it right in the crease, but he was already kind of on alert. So he ducked just a tiny bit. It was only a 23-yard shot, but I was like sick to my stomach because I saw the arrow, of course, go in the shoulder. And then I saw it come out, like the arrow got a full pass through, but then I saw my Luminoc kind of stick in his shoulder. He took like 2 steps, and of course the arrow broke both ways, and I'm sitting there like trying to throw up and trying to make sense of it. I'm like, what did I just do? Did I just like shoulder shoot this deer or whatnot? And I'm pulling 82 pounds back on the new lift X and shooting a heavier arrow with a beast broadhead. So I wasn't too concerned about that, but I was like, man, I'm just praying that I hit the vitals and everything like that. And Greta's like, it's fine, like you drilled him, and he did too. Like he straight up mule kicked and like took a nosedive right away, and like we could see that there's blood over the stump. So I was pretty like, I'm like, if there's that much blood after 2 yards, I'm like, that's pretty good sign. And we waited about an hour and a half, and she actually got like part of it kind of on film. It was so blurry and foggy, you couldn't really see anything, but all you could see him is like doing a nosedive, and then he dove into the thick stuff. So we waited just about 2 hours, I'd say. And I'm like, all right, let's go look at the impact site. We'll go from there, because it's just right in front of us. So I look and I'm like, there's just blood everywhere. Like within the first 10 yards, like it honestly looked like a spray can all over the trees, over the stumps, the leaves. And I'm like, all right, this is looking good. So we crept forward like 5 yards, and I put up my binos, and literally like right in the draw, he was just deader than a doornail right there. And I was like, yes, like instant,
let's
like
go.
Emotions just hit, and like started walking up to him. And then once I got up to him, I'm like, wow, this thing is even bigger than I imagined. And then of course, the whole story behind it too, just made it even more bittersweet. So yeah, we were pretty pumped, and then went back to the deer cabin and got the kids and got my mom, and they tracked them or found them, they say. And it was even more special there. Yeah, absolutely. They're like, we found your deer. So they're sitting there picking up on them. And of course my son sees the hole where it exit like dab smack in the shoulder too. So like, I mean, I literally lungs hard, everything you could hit. He went 50 yards, and of course, curious kids. He's looking. He's like, "Oh, there's a hole," and of course, he had to stick his finger in it to it. Our daughter's sitting there like lifting up the rack. I can't lift it, but it was super cool. They were just super pumped to be able to experience that with us too. And then even kind of cool, like my mom does all the deer camp activities, but never really goes with on the recoveries and stuff. And she thought it was super cool too. And just really great full circle moment to experience it with the family, and then get some pictures with everyone too. And it was a very emotional and good moment. But my uncle was definitely looking over me at that moment, and obviously the dear Lord placed that deer there for a reason and made it all come together. So super thankful and super pumped for that. And it was overall just a great week too.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, once again, I'm sorry for your uncle. And at the same time, I know we chatted a little bit, kind of previous before you shot, or I think it was just after you shot the deer. I mean, it just seems like it was meant to be. And it was one of those things where it's full circle story, memories that are going to last a lifetime. And I think it's your biggest bow buck too, right?
Yeah, that one for sure is my biggest bull buck. Like I've shot some, like last year, I think, last year when I was a podcast, I shot a really nice 11.2, and he went like 140s, and I don't really score him. I'm not, obviously we don't do it for the score and stuff, but this guy, he even had more mass, and even we haven't even put tape on him. We're just so pumped and admired him yet, but I know it'll score bigger than that one.
He's a big one. That's all I'll say.
Yep. Yeah. So super cool. And, that was, my uncle, every single bow deer I've ever shot, and the property he was there, recovering and helping with me. And that's what he lived for. And that was his favorite thing too, is like just the camaraderie and being part of the recovery and stuff. And it just, it kind of hit me, like, shoot, this is the first deer I've shot, or with a bow at least, I've shot that he hasn't helped with. And, it was nice being surrounded by other family too. And we all kind of took it in, and, it was a good time, but thankful for everything that kind of happened how it did.
Love it, man. Yeah, no, that's just memories that'll live on forever, and especially with your kids too. I mean, it's just something where it's so special to be able to share that with the entire family. And I didn't know that your wife was with you, so that's even cooler.
Yeah, so last year she got her first bull buck, and after that it's been uphill, downhill, whatever you want to say. The addiction started.
It's not downhill.
Yeah, definitely uphill. But the addiction started, and now she understands why we do what we do. And after she drilled that first buck, she was just like, "All right, I see why you like this so much. It's way more of a challenge. It's way more exciting." So we actually started our fall off in South Dakota chasing antelope,
nice.
And I shot mine at 80. So the rule was anything under 60, she gets a shot at. Well, of course, the first stock we went on, this guy was like hung up at 87 yards. I'm like, well, perfect. I'm not bashful. So drilled him and drilled him right in front of her. And it was pretty exciting. Then we had a really good a week there too. We had like 10, 15 different stocks for her. Just couldn't get them closer than, like 70. And she was like, anything over 60, I'm not shooting. And we got some at like 68, 70. And she's like, nope, not doing it. But I'm like, hey, I appreciate that your range and that you're sticking to it. So that was definitely her first Western hunt too. And she's like, next year we're doing mule deer. I'm like, perfect. Yep, keep her going.
It's addicting. I will say that. I mean, but as soon as you can cross that threshold of like shooting your first deer with a bow, it is literally, it's just life changing. And maybe for some people it's not, but anybody that I've ever met that just picked it up recently, life changing.
100%. And like, it took me, like, I started bow hunting when I was probably like 15. I didn't shoot my first bull buck till I was like 21 because I was so picky too.
No
and like,
kidding.
I'm like, I didn't want to shoot a small buck. I shot some does in between there, and then I had some really good encounters where I biffed it or they caught me drying. As a new bow hunter, you don't know. You don't know until you go out there and let her buck. And of course, then I shot under like a giant, and I was kind of discouraged. And finally, I was able to shoot my first one. And then I'm like, yep, this is what I want to keep riding out and doing. And after that, it's just been, it's every chance I get, every state I can go to, and we're in a tree. And then, I forgot to mention, so my brother-in-law, a day after, shot his first buck ever, and it was with a bow too on our property. So
Let's
that was
go.
pretty cool to experience with him too. And it was like a 2.5-year-old 8-pointer, but he was pumped. First buck ever, first bull buck ever.
Man.
And it was pretty sweet too. And, just following the blood trail and seeing the excitement in his eyes and getting to experience that. We had my dad out there tracking, Greta and me, and then the kids came after too, but it was just like super, super cool to experience all that and, experience that through someone that's never shot a buck, their eyes too, and just seeing them light up. So it was, it was a heck of a week.
So, I mean, from my understanding, from what it sounds like with this hunt, it was kind of destined to be, but also too, it's, I think of you being reactive to understanding that deer was in the area, but also kind of putting in the time of being persistent too. What would you say are some other things that were kind of your keys to success for having a successful hunt?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is just knowing, and now like the 1-2 weeks that I always bow hunt, that I like, no matter what, it's my Sabbath, like I'm taking it off, like I drop everything, is basically that week of Halloween going into like the first week of November. Like
magical.
The deer are doing deer things now, and the big guys are daylighting, they're hitting scrapes, they're bumping does. So that's, time on stand is kind of the biggest factor on that point. You're going to see deer and they're going to be moving, they're going to be more active. And then there's going to be also days that you're not going to see a whole lot, but that's just because they're out in a different area. They're putting on miles too. So I think the biggest thing, and then, just putting the time in the stand and getting the experience and enjoy all that too, but being patient, knowing kind of the area that he's been in and having bedding areas close by and having the scrapes that he's been hitting, kind of putting all those pieces together too. And then I think another big thing is I hunted kind of, the winds were just so marginal that either there was 15, 20 mile winds, or it was just not the best wind for that set. So I kind of camped out in our muddy enclosed blind, and basically what my system is just shut all the windows so my scent can't be blown all over the place, because obviously on the ridges too, it swirls and does all kinds of things. So I was pretty hardcore and just keeping all the windows shut until the opportunity presented itself. And when that buck came, the first thing I did was, just crack that vertical window and drew right away. So by the time he was in front of me, he couldn't smell me. But I think that was another key part of it too, is just knowing where the wind's coming from and not blowing out those bedding areas with your scent too.
No, that's awesome. It's magical what those things can do in terms of just like, if you can get, especially a stand placement like that, where you can have it in a spot where sometimes it is those marginal winds, but it's those winds that the deer want to move in. And you got to kind of just you got to do everything you can do just to be able to keep it, controlled, if that's using ozonics or if that's doing an enclosed blind, or, so that's awesome.
For sure. Yeah. I would say that's huge.
One thing I kind of want to go through here before we kind of close things up. Just tell me a little bit now. We're going into Minnesota, and this one drops. It'll be after the first weekend of Minnesota Gun. And I know You're just saying this is kind of your Sabbath. So what is some advice you're going to give to some Minnesota gun hunters getting out this latter part of the week?
Yeah, I would say, well, it looks like the temperatures are going to be a little bit cooler too. So I think it's going to be absolute prime magical. They're going to be chasing, bumping, doing all the rut activities. And I would say, the biggest thing that I always do on this gun weekend is just stay in the stand. That time period from like 10 to 2 is always money. Like I've shot in so many deer at like noon or 1 when all the neighbors or all the guys are going inside to get, get some licky chewies or to go fill up their tummies. And if you just pack your lunch or pack some extra snacks, that seems to be the kind of the prime time, because everyone's bumping the deer and just the buck activity in general too. Like that 10 to 2 hour, they're looking for does. They might've lost their morning does, so they're looking for new ones. They're scent checking bedding areas, they're freshening up scrapes, they're consistent. Now it's like, it's their time that they're moving. So I would say just being patient, putting that time in the stand, at least opening weekend. That's usually kind of what we do, is like opening weekend, we'll do all these sits. And then from there, we'll kind of do some adjustments and whatnot, just because the activity changes quite a bit. But yeah, I would say pack your little Debbies and put some time on the stand.
Love it. Yeah, no, I was just looking at my watch, because I was going to say, before I hopped on here, I think I got out of the stand at 11, and deer were still moving. I had to like sneak and crouch and I had to like tuck underneath the CRP to get out of there. So, I mean, that's some great advice, because that is true. And some of the biggest deer that I've seen, let alone have shot, have been between that 10 and 2 time period when people are just out of the woods. And they're doing the same stuff. Sure. They're running all day.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, this is every year it's the same exact kind of week. You know, they're starting to rut, and that's their 1 to 2 weeks that they do that, and they rut hard. So it's just a matter of time, you know, being at the right place, right time, and they're moving too. So your chances get a lot better as long as you stay put.
Awesome. Well, Jordan, thank you so much, and good luck this upcoming weekend for the Minnesota gun season. And we look forward to having you on. Hopefully you shoot another one.
Hey, that'd be awesome. Yep, taking Dawson, my son, out with me. So hopefully it happens. But no, I greatly appreciate your time and having me on again. And it's been great.